Our next speaker, I've been lucky enough to spend some time with this lady, and she's had an incredible impact on me, made a big impact on our team. Not only is this lady #1 best-selling author with her book A to Z of Being Understood. If you haven't got a copy, I would urge you to buy one. It is an incredible read, and it's also, more importantly, a very easy to read book, certainly from my perspective anyway. She specialises in helping professionals being heard, and more importantly, being understood. Making simple changes to your language is what this lady specialises in, and helping people gain promotions. Diffusing awkward situations and helping people express themselves with greater clarity and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, Kay White.
Thank you. Well, follow that, Nick. Thank you for that. That's fantastic. I was like completely unaware it was my turn next. I was so engrossed. Thank you. My name is Kay White, as you heard. I've come just as I am with my book and a couple of notes. What I do is show particularly women. I show a few smart men, I must also admit, but I show essentially professional business women how to stand out and stand up in business, how to sparkle in their own way, and how to really be heard. And my book is called The A to Z of Being Understood, and it is literally simple. A lot of Americans obviously call it the A to Z of Being Understood. And the idea of it being as simple as A to Z is that the intricacies that Nick was talking about in the watchmaking. I am a word nerd, a self-confessed word nerd. The power of language and the words that we use and that we choose to use when we're interacting make a huge difference to how and if people respond to you. And I learned a lot of this, as we do, we learn along the way, but my career started 20 years ago as a very naive, if you will, but also very enthusiastic secretary working for Willis, the big insurance broker, #2, I think, global insurance brokers they are now. I left there 20 years later as a director in the global insurance property department. I lived in Paris, worked for them in Paris, speak French, so I can kind of word nerd in French a bit. But what's come from all of that, working in essentially a very, very male environment and enjoying it, but still being feminine at the same time, and understanding how we interact, what really works and what really doesn't, how you can connect with someone really quickly. So having put distinctions around this, part of as I say, the book has made it very simple because every word, being a word nerd, you're going to start with your dictionary. But I've chosen for you tonight just a couple of words. I'm going to pick them straight out of my book. The one begins with W, and the other one is the letter Y in my book. And what I will say to you, and I listened to you, Nick, as well, about relationships, the relationship with your brother, the inspiration that has come from your father, how you've obviously cajoled and worked with, and your relationships are such currency to you. How you build relationships and how you draw on your relationships. That often separates the people who are successful from the people who are just kind of still treading water. Because how you're able to connect and ask people and really tell them to do things, but actually without telling them, that's where the influence part comes. So what I will say is you can tell them what you have to say, but you just don't always have to say what you think it is. There's a way of saying it. So as I say, your personal relationship currency, that often separates the people who are successful, who you can call on. And there's this phrase, oh, well, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And it's like, well, actually, I would say it's about who knows you. It's very easy to say, I've got an address book full of names. But do they know you? And what do they think about you? How do you actually behave with them? How do you interact? That's the difference, because it's very easy to say yes to someone who you like or who's paid you some attention or who you felt a connection with. And it's a little bit more like, do I want to say yes to that person when they ask you? Maybe I have to, but there's a resistance. And this is the point about understanding how to really make it easy to connect with people. And it works just as well, by the way, at home with those tricky customers. Kiddies, as it does with your partner, and it works obviously in your workplace. Now, I work all around the world. Just very quickly, I use teleseminars, so I really do have to project myself. I have clients in Southern California, in Hawaii, Alaska, and in Canberra, all on the same day sometimes. The world is like that now. You're not limited to working in London because you live close to London. We all know that. But again, it's about English is the international business language. It will stay that way for some time. Maybe there will be more influence from the East. We all can kind of see that coming. But what that means is the clearer you communicate and the less sort of smart and clever and corporate gobbledygook you can be, the better it will be for the people who need to understand you on the other side of the world when you're asleep. And I always say to people, okay, you have to work with what you've got. If you're calling it strategic implementation project number 1, it's like, okay. But by that, what you can say is, well, by that we mean, or of course we really mean. You know, give people the actual real words versus the blah words that people tune out. Because I know I tune them out, and if I'm finding myself tuning them out, I know other people do. It's a big shocker when you realise that you go around the room and you ask a person what the project actually means, and the translation is so varied. You know, this word strategic and KPIs, sometimes people actually don't know what KPIs are. I know it sounds daft in this sort of a room, but they have to kind of check. I had a client who is in the National Health Service, and she was working with people using all the time DV. Now, DV in her world meant domestic violence, pretty serious stuff. The person in the room thought DV meant diarrhea and vomiting. I mean, this is the idea. Using abbreviations, you have to understand, do I always know what that means? Does everyone else? So you can always make it about, you know, yourself, like, well, by that I mean, so you translate it for other people. Now, I know that Phil's got a trapdoor lever. I don't know, he didn't use it on you, Phil, Nick, but he might use it on me, so somewhere around here. I'm going to be very mindful of your time tonight. I want to give you 2 words, quick and dirty words, to understand how to use and how to avoid. So 1 to use and 1 to avoid, or 1 to understand, really, rather than avoid. I'm going to give you the 1 to avoid first, or to, as I say, understand, and that begins with W. And that word is why. Now, I'm one for questions. The Q in my book is all about the power of asking questions. Open questions, closed questions, knowing when to use which and why. The word why, though, has an effect when you ask it. So if I could ask you, Nick, for example, why are you wearing those boots today?
I was given them in America.
Okay, so that's a good reason. So the first thing that you're doing to me is justifying, I was given them in America. If I was to ask you, sir, just there, can I have your name? Matthew, sorry. Why did you choose to wear that tie today?
Because of the shirt.
Because of the shirt. Now that's a simple question and a not good question to 2 people but the effect, can I just show you the first thing, you said it, but obviously in the way that you did it, you justify it, you said because. Now if you say to them, why have you done that? Why have you chosen to do that? Why are you doing it now? Why are we doing this right now? People justify, they go, because you put them on the spot and you don't necessarily mean to. And so what you'll find, the minute you say to someone that why, it's like, do I want more information first, or do I want them to actually justify what they're doing? You know how children like, why? And it kind of like we bring it on, and then we forget that actually the answer is because. Now, if you say to someone, why have you put that paragraph there? I thought we agreed it would go here. Oh, well, because I thought it, versus saying, so hang on a second, what made you put that there? Much more open, much less on the spot, on the defensive. It's really subtle, and it works just as well in writing. Now, what I say about the word why, because again, I'm aware of the trapdoor, the word why, when I use it on myself, is totally different. I can then explain to you. So you might be asking why I chose to wear, I don't know, what I'm wearing. Well, because of the colour I like, and I can answer it to myself. So I use the word why for myself. You know, you might be wondering why blah, blah, blah. Just know that the next time you mouth to go why, You could be putting somebody unnecessarily on the spot and closing them off to you. Just closing them down to give you information versus justification, which you don't always want. Well, because I felt, because. So the word to use, and I know you've got that, but the word to use in my book is Y. It's the letter Y. Y is for yours truly. The power of people's name. Never underestimate how powerful it is knowing someone's name, and then when you know it, using it. And using it more than you probably think you would do naturally. By that I mean, in an email, peppering the person who you're writing to. They're hearing your voice in their head, using it. So, finishing a paragraph off with, so if that's okay with you, Phil, I'll give you a call in the morning. It's what I'd say to you naturally, so pop it in. It's like, oh, okay, why? People have said to me, okay, your emails are always so engaging. It's like, I know, because I'm speaking to you, and I know that. It's also natural. When you start doing it, it's a little bit like I said about the accessories. Now, I am a woman, I do like accessories, and women like to sparkle. Now, all of you understand the power of a different tie, a Bremont watch, whatever it is that's important to you that you choose. Now, using an accessory using someone's name as an accessory is very simple. It works with kiddies, it certainly works with your partner, and it really does work in the office. So the minute I meet somebody, I always say, repeat their name. I always make sure I've repeated their name, so it's stuck up here somewhere. I always wear my name badge. Most people always put their name badge on their left. Sorry, that's not really strategic when you've got a microphone on their left. I always say wear it on your right. Probably a lot of you know, but if I was to go over to him and say hi to Tim, the first place you'd look, Tim is here on my right, because that's where my name is. If it's here, it's like, so it's very easy to sort of make it easier for other people, but also sometimes just make sure you know where you're looking so you can lodge it up here and then use their name to engage them. Now, what a lot of people say to me is, oh, okay, what you share is so obvious. I'm like, yup, and so obvious that it's right here, and so often you don't see it. And it's these little distinctions and these little things that you pepper in. And particularly for women who are, again, one of my things, I actually appear in Glamour magazine this month, which kind of is a compliment in one respect, in an article, The Nice Girl's Guide to Playing Hardball. Now that could be taken in a number of ways, but what I will say to you is you don't have to, particularly as a woman, you don't have to be a ball breaker to get ahead. You have to just be true to yourself and say certain things in a certain way, rather than the whole kind of program way we've been doing, just like the why. So I am going to be mindful of the trapdoor and be around later on to chat, and if anyone wants a copy of my book, I have a few. But more than anything, just remember the words you choose to use really count. They certainly count when you're maximising your potential and drawing people to you for success. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Just get mic'd up. Get you mic'd up. Okay, thank you very much. That was exceptional. I don't know about you, but I took a lot from that. I started scribbling notes all over the place. So, building relationships being the currency, building relationships being your currency for success. I'll try and avoid the why where possible, but it is a bit difficult. And using people's names. So I'm glad you've all got name badges on tonight. So when I meet you in Amber Bar, I will be perusing your name as I talk to you. Thank you very much, Kay.